Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode on UNFUCK Your Life, the show for ambitious women who are ready to calibrate to their next level. Now, today's episode is another guest episode, and I actually brought on a dear friend of mine that I just recently met and basically got introduced to through a mutual friend during my recent trip in Australia in Byron Bay, and honestly Caina has become one of my closest guy friends and this week that we get to spend together. I was lucky enough to meet him. I think very, very highly of him, which is why I decided, and you babes know I rarely get men onto the show, so I'm picky, but I feel like because we had countless conversations that just really expanded my mind in different ways. And so many times we had 2 hour conversations, sometimes being on mushrooms. And I was just like, shit, I wish I would have recorded this. This is good stuff, but we obviously never recorded anything. So I was like, you know what, when I'm going back to Bali, we'll do this virtually. We'll do this properly for the show. So that's why we're here now. Now that I'm back in Bali and recording an episode for you, babes. So it's going to be spicy. It's going to be interesting. We'll dive into all things polarity, psychedelics, success, relationships, attraction. Get ready for it. Caina, welcome to UNFUCK Your Life. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's an honor to be one of the few men that make it onto the show.
It is an honor.
It's not the first time either. I was invited on the podcast recently where I was
No,
also
that I know.
first
No, but
male.
it's an honor to be on mine.
Of course, of course.
Of course. Okay, so to kick things off, tell people a little bit about yourself, because I've obviously just introduced in the way that I shared how we met, but who are you for everybody who literally has never heard of you? What's your life story? What inspires you? What drives you? What got you to this place in your life, in your career that you're in right now? And also, I will say that what got you to this level of consciousness, because that's one of the things I guess I appreciate most about you is your self-awareness, 2, your level of consciousness, 3, your knowledge, 4, your humor, at least sometimes. What got you to this place? What made you become this amazing human?
Well, first of all, thank you.
I was not
Um,
meaning to flirt, by the way. That was just me being
yeah, well,
genuine.
look, I appreciate that. I mean, that's pretty broad question, I would say, but
It
I'll
is.
try and do it in the best way I can. Basically, I am a child of the world. I've grown up basically across a huge amount of countries and continents. Just basically due to how my parents decided to live their life. They're very
True.
transient, very, I guess, nomadic people. So, I found myself in a myriad of different schools and cultures and locations and all of that, and yeah, was immersed in a number of different kind of stories, basically, and how that affected me, I would say, is just gave me perspective. It gave me appreciation for what I had, and it also gave me appreciation for how lucky I am compared to how many struggles that people face out there. So I saw it all from townships in South Africa to favelas in Rio, the crazy hustle and bustle of London, the freedom and nature of Australia. And I guess that just formed me into someone that had a lot of perspective and a lot of peripheral knowledge, I guess you could say, and yeah, it amalgamated into who I am today, which is someone who I would like to think that I'm very open-minded and I see things through different lenses and different perspectives, just through that natural journey of my childhood.
Yeah, true. And you got lots of knowledge on psychology too, which is obviously also due to your mom. Honestly, credits to your mom. She's just so good. I love your mom. And I've only briefly met her and chatted once.
Yeah.
But she's obviously in that field. How did growing up with a mom like the one you have shape you? I feel like that's really interesting too, because your mom, tell us a little bit about your mom and how her way of living and being impacted you as well. Because I feel like that's a big part of who you are.
100%, 100%. Well, yeah, my mom is definitely one huge aspect of my life and how I've been formed. She is an incredible woman. She's very well read, she's very well studied, and she is completely motivated by mastery and giving back to her community, wherever that will be. Um, so I guess how that shaped me, I definitely look up to my mom a lot, so it gives me a lot of leverage in terms of motivation to strive for things myself. And when you hold pride in someone else, and you, yeah, it helps you kind of have a north star and a direction on how you want to also embody certain values to match the people that you're proud of. So and to also build on that, she's a very naturally feminine woman. Like for the kind of job she occupies and the space she occupies and the amount she has to do and running her own business. Yeah, she's somehow been able to kind of hold on to this very naturally kind of calm and soft feminine shell that a lot of people can't balance. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, especially women in the modern day, that are going into high power positions or just quite stressful environments where they have to be on 24/7. You know, the imbalance sometimes throws off their natural femininity. So I think that's just a lot of work that my mom's had to do. You know, she's had to be very introspective. She's had to do a lot of reflection, and yeah, she's a top shelf gal.
She's a baddie, but she's also very nurturing. Like I literally spoke to her and we instantly clicked too. And I was like, yeah, like she definitely got a lot of feminine energy whilst crushing it, as you said. And what did that teach you about polarity, men and women growing up? Like what did you learn, like even just by perceiving her, but also like making up your own mind, obviously, in your own experiences? Like, let's talk a little bit about polarity because I think this is so important. And what you're saying is important too. Like, as a woman these days, like it's important to, yeah, like have your thing going and like be ambitious and like be a genius at what you do, which your mom definitely is. Like, I admire her. And like, and like at the same time being soft and nurturing and like and the same also vice versa. Let's flip it for men, right? Like to be self-aware, to be in tune with their emotions, but also still like be the leader and like be in their healthy masculine. Like how, what did you learn about that and how did that play out throughout your life, seeing as you've had this like interesting upbringing of like traveling a lot, seeing a lot of different places, witnessing your mom, in your dating experiences, like all of it. Like what did you learn about men, women, and polarity?
Yeah, that's a good question. My father, I'll bring my father into this because I think that's important as well. Like he is
Yeah.
definitely the polar opposite of my mother in many ways, and so I saw, how that dynamic plays out when you have parental figures that are, basically on opposite sides of the spectrum. Now they do have like some overlap. They're both very emotionally intelligent and emotionally attuned. They're also very focused on study and becoming just being a student, a forever student. That's what I would say. My mom and my dad both have that value. They are constantly looking at themselves as a student and constantly like kind of upgrading their software and uh,
Upgrading their
seeking
software. Damn, I appreciate you saying that.
seeking more knowledge. So yeah, I can appreciate their similarities, but yeah, where they come in and what really helped me is the fact that they were so different. If I was more leaning towards being more like my father. There'd be definitely like a lot of issues that I would have to face. You know, embodying that, and if I was
What
completely
are
like,
the issues? Let's get into that. Like, what are some of the traits that you're like, well, I don't necessarily want to embody that.
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't really haven't really broken it down in my mind what exactly the traits are, but I just know that I'm like quite a balance of both my parents, and that really does serve me. My father is, ambitious and has a certain outlook in life that my mom has doesn't share, and yeah, they both have their place. It depends on your situation as well. Sometimes you have to embody different traits in different moments, right? Like if you're
Oh,
in a,
also true. Context
yeah, so
matters, circumstances
100%.
matter.
So, definitely I bring in parts of my father and parts of my masculine side that are very important to get out of certain dangerous situations or high-powered business meetings or, dealing with, snakes and sharks that you kind of tend to come across in the business world, metaphorically. And then with my mom, I have to embody those kind of softer sides, whether that's the girl I'm seeing or whether that's connecting to my friends and making sure that they're right and checking in and also checking in with myself as well, not being too hard on myself. So yeah, it's definitely a balance and it's not rigid, it depends on the situation, whether or not you're going to bring in your kind of more feminine side or your masculine side.
I love that. And like, so like for you, it's like it's become almost like a natural thing. What would you say to like especially girls who are struggling with that, like finding that natural dance where it's like, well, in this scenario, under these circumstances, around these people, I'm more in my feminine or masculine. Like, what would you say to someone who's struggling to balance that, like naturally, and who tends to like fall into either the wounded feminine or the wounded masculine? It's like more like either in one extreme or the other almost, because like that's very easy, right, to like live in extremes.
100%. I mean, look, I don't know if I have some kind of passage or some kind of saying that's gonna, you know, help a woman find that, and I don't think that's my place to say, to be honest. But I would
Okay.
say that if you find that there are certain situations where you're putting up these huge walls around yourself, then you should definitely identify that and look into it and see what is the reason. Is it actually a situation of danger, or is it your kind of wounded side that is being triggered, and therefore you bring up these walls that are actually not helping you learn and not helping you evolve. I would say that's a good one.
That's a really good question to ask yourself. Yes, and how does masculine feminine play into polarity, especially between men and women in romantic relationships? We talked a lot about that actually in Australia, but like, why is that so important in the first place? And how does it play out in romantic relationships? And where do you think is like the sweet spot for a romantic relationship to thrive? And like, why is polarity important? How do you consciously create it? Because it's obviously like also a dance because it's like two people.
Mm.
Like, how is polarity created in the first place?
Oh, I see polarity as almost like it's a flux, right? So it's always shifting and changing, and just like a magnet, as they move together, there can be some separation or there can be some attraction with the opposite sides, right? So if you move a
What
magnet,
are the components? What makes up polarity? So you mentioned
well,
attraction, which is
I
very
would
true.
say polarity is at its essence just two opposites, right? And
Yep.
what is generated in the middle, what like the energy that's generated between two opposites. For example, I'll use the magnet. We all know, we've all done it in school. We all did it when we were kids. We get to a negative magnet and a positive magnet. We try and get them together and touch them, and they just they create this energy force, this kind of field in the middle. And so, in terms of humans and the way that we interact, we can see very clearly through many examples that when you get two opposite forces and you bring them together, there is this kind of quite strong energy that is generated between them. And the way that you would naturally cultivate that with your partner, I guess I use an example of being a man, would be, yeah, just witnessing how your partner is in certain situations and seeing how they react, and if they have a feminine shutdown reaction or if they have a masculine fire reaction to certain things, and how you can basically be there for them and hold them by displaying a balance of that trait and trying to balance out what they are displaying, right? Um, yeah, that's what I'd have to say.
Love that. And so one time when we were chatting, you talked about the four levels of trust and attraction. Like you were kind of like even like painting this like relationship grid, or like you had it on your desk actually. I remember that. And we never really like fully talked about this, but I'm curious, like what's up with like the four levels of trust, attraction, like this relationship grid. Like I found it so fascinating, but we like never like were able to like dive too deep into it. Like what's up with that?
Yeah, we
And
can
how
talk
does that
about
relate
that.
to
I
what we
mean,
just discussed?
yeah, that's I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it all comes back to evolutionary biology. At the end of the day, that's the lens that I look at the world through. So, with any of these ideas, I think like the best way to actually really kind of give examples for them is through how we've evolved and our survival. So, when it comes to the four levels of attraction, this is just one concept, right? There's many books and many philosophers who have different opinions on these kinds of
Yeah.
things and use different examples to basically communicate this. But at its basic level, the four levels of attraction is simplified by basically explaining our attraction to the opposite sex as falling under raw kind of animal attraction, which would be just something as simple as someone's figure or someone's face and their symmetry. Then you would have the kind of gut attraction, your gut instinct about someone, whether your gut is signaling that they're someone who is either dangerous or someone who is displaying good, I guess, good traits that you feel safe around.
So it's like an energetic thing almost?
Yeah, I would say so. It's like an intuitive, the gut is more like an intuitive, energetic response.
Yeah.
Then you would have your heart attraction, which would be, what your heart is telling you, like how drawn do you feel to the person. And
How can you distinguish between the gut and the heart? Like if someone is like, well, like I feel good about them, is that like the gut or is that the heart?
I would say it would be the gut. I mean, the heart is more of that kind of fantasy wonderland feeling that you'd have to.
Oh, like wearing rose tinted glasses kind of thing.
Yeah.
Idolizing the other person as well, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the heart and gut definitely have overlaps. That there's no doubt about it. But the gut is like your strongest kind of intuitive part of the body, I would
So like
say.
the gut is about safety, meaning like it's physically safe, which makes a lot of sense when we think about women being like, is this man safe? One, like, am I gonna be physically safe? But also probably, am I gonna be emotionally safe? And is he able to provide? Maybe also might be a question. Like, but like for men, like how do they distinguish if like a woman is safe? Is that because like obviously like physiologically like we're not gonna like fucking kill them. Like I mean you never know. There's freaky people out there, but like
Yeah.
is it the same with men? Like are they also like distinguishing like is this woman safe? And then they
Yeah.
go by their gut instinct. Is that how it works?
Yeah, look, I'll go through the four and then I'll kind of explain like how they would work differently for men and
Okay,
women
perfect,
and what kind of
sweet.
signals would like trigger each side. Um, the fourth one would be the brain. So it's that intellectual side of a relationship.
True.
Is this
Yeah,
person
intellectual attraction. Damn, that's so real. That's
a
so
big
real.
one? So is this person intellectually on my level? If I was to have a child with this person, would that benefit my survival of my genes, basically? So it all comes down to the survival of the genes and the selfish gene, which is basically what we are as human beings are like gene skin machines. So we're just carrying the genes within us, and our prime goal is to carry them onwards to basically offspring that have better adaptive traits, more intelligence, and have more survival capabilities than even us. So we're
True.
basically trying to upgrade the hardware through quite selfishly through baiting. That's why we go for the most attractive, most intelligent, most safe
Yeah.
partner we possibly could find within our context and our environment. And that's also where infidelity and stuff comes in, where selfishly we sacrifice the partner we have now
We
to,
think there might be someone better who's like at a higher level, right?
yeah, and if the risk to reward is there, then, often the time is, that's when infidelity comes into the picture and cheating and all of that. But bringing it back to the kind of four main attraction triggers in a person, the primary difference between men and women would be that a lot of these attraction triggers are kind of thrown out the window for men, especially when it comes to just short-term dating strategies. So men and women both.
Short-term dating strategies. You mean men looking for situationships?
Well, basically, fundamentally, we have a short-term dating strategy and a long-term dating strategy, and this is the same for men and women, right?
That's
So
true, I guess.
men, when you bring evolutionary biology into it, men are constantly going to war, constantly going to hunt, they're constantly putting themselves into dangerous situations. So they have basically built a short-term survival strategy for dating so that their genes can be passed on,
That
even
makes
even though,
sense.
right? So when a man is basically in a stage of short-term dating, his four kind of attraction triggers don't need to be stimulated for him to want to make a sexual advance on a person. So, for example, all he would need out of the four, out of the gut, heart, brain, and animal, which is that kind of raw appeal, he would really only need the animal. He would only need that
True.
raw appeal to want to actually have sex with a woman. For women, for the most part, and this is not as rigid as I'm saying. There's a lot more nuance to this because women still do have their short-term mating strategies, and there are times where women do, make brash decisions. It's just not as common. So for women, on average, every time she wants to sleep with a new partner, or explore something sexually with someone new, she needs at least three of these four triggers to be
Which is
stimulated.
crazy, right? Like it makes
Yeah.
sense, but it's like a lot more. Yeah.
It's a lot more. It's a lot more of an investment. I mean, there's a lot more danger for a woman to have a sexual partner than it is for a man. The woman that gets pregnant, she becomes vulnerable, and
True.
it's safe for her to sleep with men that are not intellectually stimulating her. Then they're not stimulating her gut from a safety point of view, and her heart is not stimulated as well. It just doesn't make as sense. Make as much sense. I mean, the heart is really what is like the long term kind of commitment, right? That's what you're like. The heart is telling you to commit and build something with this person, right? The gut is just kind of telling you if this person is safe. And the brain is telling you if this person is intelligent, they hold good genes. They have good genes. They know what they're doing in their environment. They know how to protect. They know how to problem solve, things like that. And then the animal attraction for a woman is really, obviously it's important. It's important for all of us. But if the brain and heart and gut is stimulated in the right way, then she will choose someone who not necessarily is the best looking person on the block to be her partner, just because she has all of her other cups filled. Where
She thinks about her potential babies and like, yeah, like it makes perfect sense. Like men are more visual. Like women were visual too, obviously, but like, yeah, that and it's interesting though, right? Like that men are kind of like they just need one, and it's like the physical attraction, it's like the looks, and then for women, it's like brain, gut, and heart. Like that's insane.
I
Even
think
for
this is
like a
where
short term thing, like that's the crazy part. It's like even
yeah,
for a
yeah,
shorter term
they still
thing.
need those things. Exactly. I think where people get this confused is that a lot of like I guess women will look at it, they'll get triggered by these kind of ideas and look at it as like, oh wow, like men only date for looks, and we have to date with all these other things considered. But the reality is that men who actually want to date a woman, they're still looking for three or four of those attraction triggers. That's the
Long
difference.
term at least, yeah.
Long term. So their long-term dating strategy is basically equal to women. I think that's
True.
where
That's
people
where we
get it
find a
confused.
common ground, like long term, but short term, not so much.
Not short term, not so much. And yeah, that's a real like that really separates us in the way that we date and the way that we yeah look for partners. And I guess if you want to learn something off this and apply it to your life, you can see basically as a woman you can see if a man is looking at you as a long-term dating partner or a short-term dating partner just by trying to read into what attractions triggers that you've actually stimulated with him. If he's pursued you because you're beautiful and he's gone up to you and asked you on a date because he likes your figure or he likes your eyes or something like that, and then you're on this date and he can't wait to get into bed with you, and he would probably not have a second date if you guys weren't going to sleep together. That's an obvious sign that he's not viewing you as a long-term dating partner at all.
Okay, how do women then know if someone is actually looking for something more long term, which also can always like fluctuate, right? Like there are seasons in men's lives where they're like open to it, but they're not necessarily like looking for something long term, but they're open to it. And then there are seasons where they consciously say, well, this is just my little season to like have fun, experience women, whatever. Like what are some indicators that women know like actually this person is into something real? I feel like one thing would be like a guy asking questions and like showing actual interest. Like for me, that's a huge one where I'm like, well, clearly this person wants to learn about me, meaning they're probably not just here for like the physical, right? But like, what are some other things for women to like go, oh, probably we might be on the same page because you might actually look for something a little bit more substantial and long term.
Yeah, I think that fundamentally, the first thing that I would look at is basically if he can bear to be around you for long periods of time without getting anything sexual from you, right? So that's only going to be something that you're going to figure out in time. That's why I think that I would say probably the best relationships start as friendships.
Oh, you think so? That's interesting. There's like such divided opinions about it because like a lot of people are like, well, like if there's not like this initial strong attraction, you can just be friends. Then like, is it really romance? Like, is there actually like this? But then again, there's also people like you who are like, actually, this is super healthy and that's super good. So let's break that down. That's interesting.
100%. Well, yeah, it depends, right? Like, I definitely think there needs to be that raw attraction from the beginning in some aspect, right?
But can you be friends when you're attracted to you? Can you be genuinely friends, like
Well, I don't think it
platonically?
would start as like genuine friendship. Like you would meet through a friend or an acquaintance, and you'd be in some kind of social structure together. And it might just not be appropriate just to sleep with a girl that you've just met in this social structure. But the only time that you'd really want to make it serious and make it, official is if you're actually serious about the relationship, right?
Yeah,
Because if your social structure breaks down because of this one night stand, it's not going to be kind of conducive or effective. So
true.
I think that's something to think about as well. It's like it's not necessarily because there's not raw attraction, but you're just considering everything and going, okay, well, if I actually sleep with this person, I'm probably going to date them, and if I date them in this social structure that I'm in, how is that going to affect me? If it's not too serious and ends up breaking down, it's probably going to be negative. So you got to.
So there's a lot of things guys consider before they. No, this is interesting. I
I would
love
say
this.
so. I mean, I think that's pretty normal with everyone. Like people, like any intelligent person is going to consider how their actions are going to have a cascading effect, right?
True.
So, if you meet a girl, for example, through your friend group, and you have this attraction to her, but you just want to have a one night stand with her, it's probably not going to be the greatest idea because you're going to
Fair.
create friction and you're going to create a very, very uncomfortable environment for everyone, really. And you've just selfishly, basically, possibly ripped the friendship circle in half just through your unableness to kind of keep your dick in your pants, for lack of a better
That is
explanation.
fair. Okay, and so why then is a friendship a good foundation?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's just one example I'll use, but just to like kind of flesh it out a little bit, I think that when it comes to dating in general, I don't think that it's like one size fits all. I've definitely met a lot of friends and acquaintances that have been together with someone they slept with on the first night. Like it was
Oh,
effectively
really? That's
a
interesting.
one night
Yeah.
stand that evolved into a relationship. So I don't think it's like this or that. But I think,
Mm,
in general, if you're a single woman and you're dating and you're worried about men just using you for sex and you don't want to give away that sexual energy and you want it to be for the right person, the way that you're going to be able to scope out the right men for you and the ones who are actually going to invest in you and treat you with the respect you think you deserve would be to basically abstain with having sex with them for at least a couple of dates and see they are, how their emotional regulation is thrown off by that. If a
that is
man
so
sees
fair.
you for all the value that you have, and he really considers you as a long-term dating strategy, long-term, long-term dating partner, let's not make this all about strategy. Well, there's still beautiful things out there in the world, but yeah, if he actually views you as a long-term partner, then you would imagine that he wouldn't really be upset about a few extra dates without actually having
Exactly.
intercourse with you,
I
right?
love that. What makes men see women as wifey material? I feel like that's really interesting for our listeners. It's like what makes a man
Great
see
question.
what you just said, basically your value as a woman and as a potential long-term partner versus just someone that, they want to like maybe get to know, maybe hang out with, maybe appreciate like on a personal human level to a certain degree, but like it's more like casual and like physical. Like what makes men be like, actually, I want to invest into this woman.
I think it depends on the man. Again, it's a polarity
Sure.
thing. Like we all have different characters, and some men are more masculine than others. Some men are more feminine than others, and there's nothing bad about that. They're gonna have different kind of traits in women that they're gonna look for that are gonna balance them out. But I think, definitely in general, men are looking for soft, caring, nurturing women who care about their mission and their future and are ready to get behind them 100%. So, I mean, any kind of traits of selfishness from a woman is definitely a huge no-no and a huge turn off. And yeah, selfishness can be displayed in many, many ways. And I definitely look out for selfishness. It's probably the number one trait that I don't want in a woman at all.
And what's the number one trait you would want in a woman other than being caring? Talking about like obviously like masculine men who want like feminine women, because like that is what a lot of men want, right? Like I think a lot of women are still living in this paradigm of, well, I gotta like have my own thing going and I gotta like be super successful and like I gotta be strong because then like my man respects me more and looks up to me. And it's like actually what I keep hearing from a lot of my guy friends, including you, is like someone like you guys actually like value like a very very soft woman, like who's not necessarily like like having all of these things career wise going on, which is like nice if someone has a lot going on, but like it's not like a requirement as much as like a lot of women would probably think.
100%, 100%. It definitely isn't a requirement, especially if you have everything sorted on your end as a man, then it doesn't become as relevant. But yeah, I also don't think there's anything bad about a woman having her own mission and her own kind of career. But I would say that, it's just not it's not high on the checklist for men at all. It's probably not on the checklist at all. It's not. It's
But
like
like
take it or
having
leave
a
it.
mission as a man is important. You keep saying that. Like even when we were like spending time together, like you kept saying like the mission. It's about the mission, and like any man would want a woman who supports the mission. So like if a mission is so important for a man, then what is it for a woman that is like really important in her life? Like obviously you saying that as a man, it's just your opinion. But like if you would say like from an objective perspective, like a mission is important for any man, which I so agree on, by the way.
Mm.
Like having a purpose that drives you every day is like really important. what would it be for a woman? Like, what would be the equal, like, for a woman then? If, like, for men, it's the mission.
Yeah, look, this might be pretty controversial to say, but I think if a woman like completely gets behind her man and sees him as having direction and having um, a
Leadership.
grand plan and a grand mission, would be to get behind his mission and support it with 100% of her energy. So I think like
Oh.
for a woman who really, really loves her man, like her man becomes her mission and his mission becomes her mission
Oh, wow.
in a lot of ways.
That is interesting. So what you're saying is any man who like really wants to value himself has a mission in his life that he pursues actively every day. And then for a woman, the mission would be to support the man and his mission. To like submit almost to the man and his mission.
In this situation, the woman would be completely happy in this situation.
Obviously, yes.
She would be completely stoked to do this, and she would do this intuitively and instinctually. There would not really need to be any kind of like submission in a sense to the man.
I mean, I said this in a very extreme way. I know what you mean, though. Like, that's
Yeah,
very fair because it's ultimately like, and I mean, I've only learned about this probably like a year or so ago, to be fair, is like a
yeah,
woman, like the right woman by a man's side can expand him in like countless ways. Like, as women literally have the power to take our men, not necessarily like by doing anything, but by being ourselves and like by being in our nurturing essence, like we can literally elevate any man that we're with. Like if we're in our feminine power, we really do. And and I agree, like that can be the mission too. It doesn't have to be you having your own thing going. Obviously beautiful if you have your own life, hobbies, interests, or like creative or career pursuits, but like it's very true, and I actually agree on that. I think as women, we need to understand how powerful we are, and that we can actually elevate any man through our sheer existence. And so I like that you said that, and it's probably controversial, and like there might be some feminists listening, being like, "No, like that would never be my life," and I would have been offended if you would have said that to me like 2 years ago. 100%. Oh my gosh. But I think there's a really good point in that because ultimately, at the end of the day, women are here to like be partnered up with their men, and like usually men are the ones driving things forward, and we're the ones like our biggest strength is being nurturing and being like women and being magnetic and calling things in and like having powers that men can't even comprehend, because for us it gets to be easy, but you guys are making shit happen, and that's powerful too. And like you're giving direction that a lot of women wouldn't necessarily have. Like I'm not saying like every woman on this planet is lost. I'm not saying that, but what I will say is that that is a very polarized dynamic that you're describing, and I love that. Okay, coming back to my initial question, because I'm sorry I kind of got sidetracked. We talked about like friendship being a good foundation for something long term. Like what makes you state that? Because that's
Look,
where we left off.
I've seen it like a lot of times in my life. I've seen successful relationships kind of spawn from friendships. Yeah, you get to gauge the person, you get to witness them and see them in a raw way that
For
isn't
who
in
they
this
are, yeah.
for who they are. It's not in this kind of staged and
That is
acted
true.
place, especially when you have your
Very
eyes
true.
set on someone and you're doing everything in your power to make them view you a certain way. That's definitely
True.
not a conducive way to start a long-term relationship.
That's so
Um,
true. Oh my God, yeah.
long-term relationships are built on seeing each other raw and seeing each other, at the lowest and the highest, and yeah, I think that is, yeah, usually a friendship's gonna be able to give you that, I guess, eye in. And yeah, again, just to reiterate, this is not the kind of situation where there's no raw attraction whatsoever. I mean, I have raw attraction with a lot of my female friends. We just choose not to step over that boundary, just due to the fact that we're in an environment, we're in an ecosystem that works, and why
Yeah.
destroy that for just some sex? You know what I mean? So yeah, you'd really need to consider if that person's like you're 100% serious about having them as your future, to set that boundary. So I think that also just comes with maturity. When I was younger, I definitely stepped those boundaries a lot more than I do now.
I
A
bet you
lot
did.
more. I see a lot more, yeah, value in keeping amazing females in my life as friends, and not stepping over that boundary with them. They offer so many things in my life that benefit me. So yeah, that's definitely a maturity thing.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you're saying that. Like sometimes you appreciate a person so much that you're just like, actually, like let's not ruin this by, doing something stupid.
Exactly.
Okay, so we also wanted to talk about psychedelics and spirituality since we've had, and I think I can say this, right? Like we had a couple of mushroom trips in Australia together, which was amazing, by the way, and like very expansive. And what's your take on that? Like, how do you feel about psychedelics? How do you feel about what it does for you in terms of expanding you as a human, making you potentially like more self-aware, realize things, and become more spiritual in touch with your spirituality? And is it required to like, consume them to like be more expanded on a spiritual level, or are there other ways? Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously, I know you're a fan, as am I, but like, what's your take? What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you.
It's a hard one. What I really want to say is that I recommend mushrooms for everyone.
I do
Um,
know that that's what
yeah,
you
I think
said by, and I
the smart
appreciate
thing is
it.
yeah, the smart thing to say is that I think you can definitely get there without mushrooms, and I don't think that everyone's physiognomy is going to work for mushrooms, and we know that as a fact. There are people
Oh,
out there
interesting. What do you mean by
don't
that?
react well to psilocybin for whatever reason, and it doesn't put themselves in the right headspace. I
Oh,
definitely think
wow.
that if you were to do mushrooms, it would be best to do it in a controlled environment with people you trust, and there's amazing practitioners out there that actually do these guided, mushroom therapies. And one thing that they always do with these professional kind of environments where they use medical grade psilocybin mushrooms is that they do it in a basically preliminary session with their clients where they gauge whether or not this is going to be the right drug for them and if they're in the right space.
Interesting.
So if you're dealing with a client that is, potentially schizophrenic or is in a very manic kind of moment in their life, that's probably not going to be conducive and have a positive outcome. So
Yeah, and what people always say, right, is like you should be in a good headspace because ultimately what mushrooms do is they kind of amplify what you're already feeling. And like if you're in a really low state in your life, then potentially it will take you down like into even darker parts, which obviously
100%.
sometimes it's good like when I mean it's good when like mushrooms bring out something that has to be looked at and dealt with, but like if you're like in a really dark space, that is like definitely not the way to go. So that makes sense. I wasn't aware though that that it has to do with your body almost and like how it reacts to mushrooms, and like that for some people like their body will literally like not do well with them. Like I wasn't aware. That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, look, we're all different. We all have different bodies, different physiognomy. So I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't say everyone watch this podcast and just go and eat a bunch of mushrooms. But in general, I would say that mushrooms are probably good for 90% of people on the planet. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that they do is they bring you into parasympathetic, so kind of down regulates your energy. It puts you into a relaxed state.
That's why
You
we
also,
start yawning. Like, remember how we were Like, I was yawning. I was like
yeah, yeah.
tired. I was sleepy. I was relaxed.
Yeah, you start fully down regulating, and then your energy starts picking up after that. And what's amazing about what mushrooms do is they really bring down your walls, especially your trauma triggers. So anything that is usually a trigger for you, you're way less likely to have that trigger. You have more
You wait,
trust.
wait, you're wait. Okay, let me clarify. You're less likely to like feel triggered, or like it's not even a trigger anymore. Like it doesn't, or do you respond differently instead of like
I would say you
reacting
just
and
have a
like being
different you have a different response. And
interesting?
yeah, one of the things that happens with mushrooms is, as I was saying, it basically brings down your walls and kind of lets more in. You're more trusting, you're more open. you can be a little bit more honest with not only yourself but the people around you, and you actually come into basically any situation with a lot of empathy and sympathy and understanding, and
So it opens your heart. It's like makes
it
you more
opens your heart
compassionate and understanding towards other people, their
completely,
perceptions and opinions,
completely,
feelings.
completely. So in that sense, I mean, it makes you more connected to nature. In that sense, it's a beautiful healing tool you can do with friends, intentionally, with the people that you hold nearest and dear, and you can really tap into, I guess, a more honest and open, social environment for yourself and your friends.
Yeah, and we did that, and that was amazing. It was actually super, super healing. Came definitely at the right time for me. I remember you saying, I think it was you who said that they're like little, like mushrooms are basically like little brains, or was it Joel who said it? I can't remember. But one of you guys said, oh, like they're like little brains that you eat, and then they expand your brain, like something like that. Can you
Mhm.
touch on that for a second? Because I thought
Yeah,
that was
well,
so fascinating. Like,
I've met a lot of practitioners that um, describe them as little teachers. They're like little teachers that come in and basically drop wisdom, and you basically
wait,
download
wait,
the.
wait. Do they drop wisdom or do they help you unlock inner wisdom that you already had from like fucking past lives or, like in your fucking DNA? Like, what is it? Do they drop things
There's
that are like more up?
definitely there's definitely like definitely an intuitive element to it where they get you more connected with yourself and your environment, so you can tap into intuitive teachings. I don't know. I guess I'm not kind of aware if they're actually giving you. A lot of people describe it as they actually are dropping wisdom, and you can hear the voices and hear the teachings.
I've
It's
never
like
had that.
in
Have you ever
yourself.
had that happen?
I would say that I definitely have had, inner dialogues that have helped me unlock new stages of consciousness that
Inner
have come.
dialogues, but you didn't hear a voice.
Yeah, not exactly a voice. Some people do
Okay,
and some people don't.
that's
So, yeah, I
interesting.
guess it just depends how you want to look at it. I think it doesn't really matter whether it's the mushrooms giving you direct knowledge, like some kind of like God or ethereal spirit, or if it's just something that is you're unlocking within yourself. To me, it doesn't really matter. Um, the point is that psilocybin 100% unlocks new stages of consciousness, and is able for you to go deeper into yourself and into your environment and feel more connected, and that can beautifully change your life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but you got to do it in a safe setting, as you said, and like really be prepared for it. Be open to it. Be open to like have certain things that might actually change your life because when you're in like this very rigid state of like I'm slightly stressed, I'm slightly anxious, things are kind of like there's a lot of problems to deal with. And if I had like an epiphany that would kind of possibly change the trajectory of my life, that would kind of stress me out, then I don't do it because like there might be moments where you're actually like I need to leave this relationship, I need to quit this job, I need to start this new business. Like all those things can happen, right? Because it actually, as you said, it brings you closer to your truth, to your heart, to your mission as well. So like it can do a lot for you. So like you got to be open for that to happen and not resist it. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And so to wrap all of this up, my last question for you and for all of my interview guests always is, what is your top tip to unfuck your life for our listeners? Don't say take mushrooms. No, just kidding. But like, what would be one thing that either we discussed before or like that we haven't even touched on, that if our listeners would like take that and run with it, integrate it right away, would actually make a tangible difference for them in the near future? Like, what would be one thing that has maybe changed the game for you and has unfucked your life?
I would say, when it comes to getting out of a situation that just seems like stagnant, I think when your life is fucked is it's when it's stagnant, you know.
Ooh,
And when things, you might be doing things, but they're not really changing your day to day. You're just kind of going through things very rigidly and
through the
very
motions,
through the motions, and it's very linear.
mindless. Yeah.
Very mindless. Your day is like Groundhog Day, and you just feel like you're not making new connections, you're not meeting new people, and you're just living a quite a static life.
And I will, sorry to interrupt, I will add to that, it doesn't even matter if you're feeling miserable or not. A lot of people live a very stagnant, rigid, beautiful life where it's like they have a good income, they have, a relationship, they are not like
Completely.
unhealthy. Like nothing is like horrible, but nothing is really fucking amazing and outstanding either because they're not
Completely.
growing and expanding. So like right, like you
Completely.
don't have to even be miserable to be stagnant. You can be good and comfortable and like have a beautiful life externally, like from the outside, where people are like, oh, like that person is like thriving and successful, but you actually feel stagnant and stuck. So I just want to add
Yeah.
that, but keep going.
Yeah, 100%, and that's a really good point and exactly right. Being stagnant is just being stuck in the middle. It's not necessarily being unsuccessful. It's not necessarily not making money. It's not necessarily any of these kind of things. You could be fit, you could be healthy, you could be have a great job, but you just have a stagnant life where you just kind of like basically trotting on. You're just turning the wheels.
Yeah.
So I think that's when those moments in my life is when I felt fucked, basically. And the way that I've always been able to get myself out of those situations was basically just dropping the floor from out underneath me and putting
Ooh.
myself into a location or quitting that job and taking the little amount of money that I had, regardless of how risky it was, and just basically just kicking up dust and creating chaos.
Damn,
That
and like
is
consciously doing that, right? Like, because you're trusting yourself that I can handle the chaos and I need the chaos. I need things to rearrange themselves in my life to actually upgrade, to take things to a
100%.
whole new
I don't
level.
think it's always conscious. I think I can look back at it now and go, okay,
Oh,
well,
sometimes it
I'm
was unconscious too. Okay, interesting.
100%. Yeah, I think that like we find ingenious ways of basically sabotaging our environment just to kind of kick up enough
That
dust.
hits home like nothing else. You know
Literally
what?
does.
I did that with my
Yeah.
relationship. Like I had to leave it and I knew it. And I didn't sabotage like in severe ways. I just like really, I was not happy and I was like complaining quite a bit. And it was really just me being like, I actually don't want this. And like, yeah, it's like, it was more subconscious until it became conscious. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
stagnant because I'm in this relationship. I need to leave. That's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, basically you leapfrog into a completely different environment and there's things, chaotic things that happen that basically just ask for your presence and your beck and call and your decision making in the moment, and that can basically generate enough leverage for you to leapfrog your way into a different state of being, and
You
you're gonna
enter a
find
whole
out.
new timeline. I mean, holy shit, when you leave a job, that's huge because your income in your next job could fucking be 10 times as much, right? It's like you literally create so much room for new opportunities and possibilities. You can 10x your life, not 2x, but like 10x if you actually dare to
100%.
shake
Well, you
things the
can
fuck
you
up.
can reverse. You can leave the good job and you can find yourself at a worse job in
True.
terms
I mean, also true.
in terms of income, but that job gives you other things that actually align with your mission. So your mission is never going to be money. No one's mission is generating money.
That's
People's
specifically for all the men listening. Like, your mission should
Yeah,
not be like
it's not
financially
generating money. Your,
driven.
your mission might be building businesses. Your mission might be helping people. Your mission might be
Fuck
creating
yeah.
art. It's not actually going to be making money itself. So, you know,
Yeah.
getting out of a stagnant, depressing kind of middle situation might land you into a job that makes you 1/10 the amount that you're making now. But if it aligns with your mission, because you're freeing up more time, or you're freeing up more creativity, or it's giving you the ability to meet new people, then that's actually in the long term gonna 10x your life, and you're gonna
Also
actually have
true.
things that will align with your mission. For example, if you're in a job that's making 150K a year, but it requires 50 to 60 hours of your time behind a spreadsheet, you
Fuck
really have
yeah.
to ask yourself, is this really my mission, or is my mission creating art and having this job doesn't give me, it might give me the money and it might give me those kind of small, I guess, rewards, like a nice car I can buy on finance or a nice apartment. But if in the long term you're at this job and nothing's changing and you don't have enough time to create the art you want to create or
You
create the
don't feel
business you
alive.
create,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to feel great at all, and none of those things are going to bring you happiness.
That is so, so real. And sometimes we have to also, and I think this is important for people to realize, like, you have to make those brave and big and bold decisions that a lot of people are like, you're fucking nuts, like, you've lost your mind. But it's actually a strategic move because you're temporarily sacrificing something, whether it's, like your social life or hopefully not your sleep or your health. But maybe like your income, like something that like you can actually go without for like a little while, like let's say like a couple of months, whatever, because it's ultimately going to catapult you towards where you want to be. Whereas
Mm.
there is more fulfillment, there is more health, there's more of what you ultimately value and want. And I think it's just very important to be clear on that. Like sometimes temporary sacrifices have to be made, whether you're starting a business or whether you're, like entering a new relationship, changing your lifestyle, changing your living environments. I love how you said like sometimes it's quitting a job, leaving a relationship, but sometimes it's also entering a new relationship or changing fucking like where you live, like moving continents or countries at least, right? Like it's those kind of things. So I love how you said that. Very true. Um, so basically, your tip is to trust yourself, to shake things up and like not allow yourself to become too stagnant, meaning too comfortable, and too rigid in the way that you've been doing things, because actually better things might lie on the other side. Like if I would have been rigid, like I would still be vegan, which like was a good time in my life. I loved it. But at the same time, like it didn't serve me health wise anymore at a certain time, And it's like you gotta like be open to making those really big changes. You gotta be
Mm.
open to that to keep leveling up. And I love how you put that.
Appreciate it.
So, so that being said, I mean, I think we're at the end of the episode, guys. Thank you so much for coming on today and for making time for me. I appreciate that. And for everybody listening who is intrigued by Kaina, who he is, what he does, you can find the link to his Instagram page and any other links that he'll send me after in the show notes. If you love this episode, we'd love for you to take a screenshot, put it on your stories, tag us so we can see that you loved listening. DM us your main takeaways. We'd love to hear that as well. And yeah, to get notified when the next episode goes live, simply subscribe on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you never miss a beat. We drop episodes every single Tuesday. So yeah, thank you so much, Kaina, for being here today. We're just under an hour, so great timing. And I'll
Beautiful.
talk to you babes very soon.
All right, amazing. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks. Bye.